Hi, folks. Democrats are at it again, like that one friend who swears they're fiscally responsible but keeps maxing out their credit card on social justice. Today's lineup is a perfect snapshot of this ongoing Democrat meltdown. See, the government shutdown just ended, and sure enough, Democrat leaders were caught on tape admitting they did it just to gain leverage, because nothing says for the people like holding the entire country hostage to score cheap political points. And somebody who's definitely not scoring is this weirdo out in Georgia, where a police officer was apparently put under investigation for misgendering this man in the women's bathroom. The police officer's crime, protecting women and little girls. Apparently, biology is hate speech now.
The restroom, the women's restroom, like I have been for months, if not years, never had any issues.
Sarah Swinson is a regular at the Tucker Reed Kofor Library. She says after she used the ladies' room on October 20th, the DeKalb police officer on hand for early voting confronted her.
He says, "Excuse me, sir," so misgendering me right away.
Oh my God.
That's obvious.
Swinson says she tried explaining to the officer that she's a transgender woman, but he got angry.
This is a police matter. There are women and little girls in there, and I have to protect them.
She says it ended up causing a scene in the middle of the library, and she tried to de-escalate.
Finally, I just nodded, and he walked off, and I was very thankful.
The next day, she emailed library staff, who she says reached out to DeKalb County Police.
The library filed the complaint on my behalf.
There aren't any Georgia laws banning transgender people from using bathrooms aligning with their gender identity. DeKalb PD says its internal affairs unit is actively investigating the incident, but offering few details. A spokesperson said the department, quote, remains dedicated to treating all members of our community with dignity, respect, and professionalism.
Americans are sick of this garbage, folks. It's over. There's no more room for this kind of insanity in America. And by the way, this dude's a dude, okay? In case you didn't know, in case I had to reinforce it. We don't have to debate that. Just look at the clip. He's a dude. He walks like a dude. He talks like a dude. Tries to do a whole little prissy walk at one point, but no. This dude's a dude. Changing your name to Sarah doesn't magically make you a woman. I could change my name to Goldfish McGoldie. That doesn't mean I'm a goldfish. It wouldn't mean I get to live in a bowl or swim in circles pretending I belong there. That's the absurdity we're living through now, folks, where feelings trump biology and truth is treated like some form of hate speech. This officer saw a man walking into a woman's bathroom and did exactly what the public expects a cop to do: protect women and little girls. He should be getting a raise, not an investigation, but instead the system punishes the sane to appease the delusional. This is what happens when ideology replaces reality. When the Democrat obsession with identity politics turns common sense into a crime, at some point, America has to draw a line, and that line is clearly called common sense, which is a feature that apparently does not come with the modern white liberal woman.
I think a lot of the people that are involved in this movement are either psychopaths, sociopaths, they like it. I'm talking about like Stephen Miller, right? And then you've got people that are religious addicts. And you guys, that is a real thing. Somebody can be an alcoholic, somebody can be a drug addict. A lot of people are religious addicts, and you can Google it and read about it. And these religious addicts, like all addicts, sabotage things. Their default setting is to break things and create collateral damage. And I think even on the Supreme Court, we have some religious addicts. And I think in the administration, we have a ton of religious addicts, Mike Johnson, etc., Marco Rubio. And they think, okay, I'm doing a lot of bad shit in my private life. I guarantee you Sam Alito's Google search history is full of a lot of fuckery, all right? Has to be.
White liberal women should honestly have to pay a talk tax. If the rest of us are forced to listen to this nonsense, there should at least be compensation involved. Because this is unbelievable, folks. The levels of delusion we're seeing here are just completely off the charts. Jennifer Welch sits there spewing wild claims that Republicans are psychopaths, sociopaths, religious addicts, without a shred of data or evidence. Just making stuff up. It's pure projection dressed up as some form of moral superiority. She calls faith an addiction while worshiping her own ideology like a religion. She mocks conservatives for believing in God, but she believes your feelings are divine truth. And that's the point, folks. This is what Trump derangement syndrome really looks like. It's not about policy anymore. It's purely psychological. A whole class of affluent progressives who built their identity on hating the right so much that reality itself becomes optional. They can defame public figures with no proof, sneer at religion, and still be treated as credible sources by their side of the media. The reason they get away with it is because our culture now rewards outrage over any sort of accuracy. And until we stop confusing hysteria for intellect, this kind of unhinged rhetoric will keep passing for political commentary in America. And speaking of unintelligible brainlets, Gavin Newsom recently added to his word salad repertoire.
I love your question.
Do you?
It's the right question.
Is it?
I want to be part of that answer as an American citizen.
So answer it.
Not as a governor, as the ex-governor of
it.
California. But right now, we've got to hold the line because I think America will become unrecognizable in a year or two unless we fight back.
Congratulations, Gavin Newsom. You've truly mastered the art of saying absolutely nothing. It's almost impressive how you can take 30 seconds of airtime and produce zero substance. Just polished emptiness delivered with that signature, trust me, I'm important grin. And that's the perfect metaphor for your entire career. All style, no results. See, under Gavin's leadership, California is number one on homelessness, poverty, addiction, gas prices, income tax, gas tax, retail theft, citizen exodus, and budget deficit. Oh, that was a long list. He locked down schools and businesses longer than almost any other state, drove out families and small businesses, and turned the nation's most prosperous state into a warning label for Democrat policy. But instead of answering for any of that, Gavin just pivots to abstract nonsense about holding the line and being part of the answer. The truth is, Greasy Gavin, you are the answer to the question of how a one-party state can fail so completely while its leaders still think they deserve a promotion. California is the model Democrats want for America. High taxes, high crime, high virtue signaling, and absolutely low credibility. And the fact that this guy is still treated like a future president tells you everything you need to know about the rot in the Democrat political culture.
Are you going to make a decision officially about 2028?
Just the third time you've pushed me on this.
I'm
impressed. I respect that. I actually respect it.
Cited Al Green.
I
asked you about the prop, and now I'm just saying, when will you make a decision? That's a perfectly reasonable question. When will you make a decision? After the midterms.
Of course. But it's not. It's not my. It's. Do you meet the moment? Do you have a big enough why? Do you have a what and a how? You actually can accomplish something.
Do you have a why?
You have to find that. You have to meet that moment. But that's years from now.
Biden in 2020, bring back normalcy. Trump in 2024, bring down prices.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, one thing I will say, it has nothing to do with me, but I think it has everything to do with all of us, is we've got to deal with the issue of our time, that we have to democratize this economy if we're going to save democracy. You can't have 10% of people owning 2/3 of the wealth in this country. You can't have that 30-year-old that's doing worse than his parents' generation for the first time in U.S. history. And so those are fundamental issues that were obviously present in this election on Tuesday. And Donald Trump got it for a moment and now is defensively suggesting he's...
It is actually insane to hear Gavin Newsom spew this redistributionist, Marxist-style propaganda about democratizing the economy and 10% owning 2/3 of the wealth. This is coming from a man who is literally the product of one of California's oldest political dynasties that have ruled the state for the last 60 years. Let's be clear. Gavin's grandfather was appointed to a high court by Governor Jerry Brown's father. Then Jerry Brown Jr., when he became governor, made Newsom his lieutenant governor. Newsom, by marriage, is Nancy Pelosi's nephew. And the Getty family, yes, that Getty family, as in Getty Oil, the family that once housed the richest man on earth, bankrolled Gavin's early business ventures, including his wine empire. They even helped raise him after his parents' divorce. So when this guy lectures America about wealth inequality, it's not just hypocritical, it's absolutely absurd. California under Newsom is already the perfect test case for his economic fairness ideas. It's the richest state with the highest taxes, yet, as I mentioned, it's number one on all of the bad metrics. Meanwhile, during his time as governor, Newsom has quietly purchased not one but multiple multi-million-dollar mansions on a government salary of around a couple $100,000. So if he's serious about wealth redistribution, maybe he can start by redistributing his own. But that's the point, folks. These slogans aren't about fairness, they're about control. It's the same performative populism elites use to keep power while pretending to fight the system that made them. Newsom isn't actually against inequality. He's just mad he can't own all of it. And speaking of being mad, somebody who's never not mad is Ilhan Omar, who's out here boasting about how even though she hates America, she cannot be deported.
I mean, I have no worry. I don't know how they take away my citizenship and like deport me, but I don't even know like why that's such a scary threat. Like, I'm not the 8-year-old who escaped war anymore. I'm grown. My kids are grown. Like, I can go live wherever I want.
Okay, well, what's stopping you? You keep swearing allegiance to Somalia, so why not just move there? Simple question. You love Somalia more than America. You've said as much. You've prioritized its interest over ours, so go. You said it yourself. You can live anywhere in the world, so do it. Sayonara, hasta la vista, or however you say it over in Somalia. The point is, nothing's stopping you. Because here's the reality. Ilhan Omar has built her entire political brand on resenting the very country that gave her refuge, freedom, and opportunity. She escaped a failed state only to spend her adult life trying to turn America into one. And every time she mocks or undermines the idea of American exceptionalism, it's not just personal, it's purely ideological. She represents a wing of the left that views gratitude as weakness and grievance as virtue. These are people who see America not as a home to protect, but as an empire to dismantle. That's why she can talk about deportation with zero fear, because deep down, she doesn't believe in borders, sovereignty, or the idea of a nation in the first place. And that's exactly what's at stake, whether America continues to be a country defined by citizenship and shared values, or just a global free-for-all where loyalty means absolutely nothing. And it's never been more obvious that with Democrats, it's clearly the latter, especially when you consider their statements about the government shutdown, which, by the way, just ended. Not thanks to Democrats, by the way, who were saying this all along.
We need to do this while we have the leverage.
Of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. But it is one of the few leverage times we have.
You reopen the government and we lose our leverage. There has to be an agreement right now. That's what this whole shutdown is about.
Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Frankly, this is our only moment of leverage.
The idea that you would give up all of your leverage and then hopefully get some sort of great deal coming down the pike is just a fool's errand.
Why are working families the leverage the Democrats need to get Obamacare fixed?
It's the only lever we have.
Democrats have this one little sliver right now when we've got some leverage here.
Some Republican senators have pushed a bill that would pay government workers.
I think that just gives the president more leverage.
Catherine was basically expressing, in her own words, the notion that our leverage right now are our votes.
Them wanting to solve the problem that we want to solve, but do it in a couple of days or a couple of weeks when we've given up our negotiating leverage.
Without that leverage, the minority party, would be stuck in the mud and not basically have anything to negotiate.
Never forget, folks, Democrats are perfectly willing to use you and your family suffering as political leverage. They said it themselves on tape. The shutdown was their moment of leverage. That's not leadership. That's hostage-taking. They deliberately stalled a clean continuing resolution, refused to fund the government, and left millions of Americans hanging, all to protect expiring Obamacare subsidies that didn't even make it into the final deal. For over a month, federal workers went without pay, military operations were delayed, SNAP and WIC funding were put at risk, and vital services were suspended. Why? Because Democrats wanted leverage. These are the same people who spent years claiming to defend working families, now openly admitting they'll use those same families as bargaining chips. And the hypocrisy doesn't stop there, folks. I mean, we just saw it a couple of days ago. Remember, these are the same politicians like Jamie Raskin and Adam Schiff who've railed against the filibuster for years, now suddenly clinging to it when it helps them stall legislation. Meanwhile, after all the chaos, the final bipartisan deal passed with 8 Democrats crossing over to end the longest shutdown in American history, meaning the Democrats gained nothing but political damage. The truth is, this was never about policy, folks. It was about power, control, and theater. And that's the sickness in Washington today. A political Democrat class that would rather break the country than lose control of it. So never forget, folks, as I've said it time and time again, Democrats hate you, they despise you, they want nothing to do with you except as a tool to serve their agenda. That's it. You're useful as long as you keep your head down, pay the ever-rising taxes, and let them rule your life like a party state out of Chavez's Venezuela. That's the model. They say for the people, but what they really mean is over the people. Don't buy the propaganda, folks. Don't fall for the performative compassion about working families, equity, or free anything. It's never free. It's control disguised as kindness. The truth is, we've drifted so far from the America our founders envisioned, a country built on small government, individual freedom, and moral responsibility. What we're seeing now is the opposite. A sprawling bureaucratic machine that thrives on dependence and punishes independence. And that's the dangerous part, folks, because once you depend on the state for everything, it literally owns you. It can shut you out, silence you, starve you, and call it policy. So ask yourself, how much more of your freedom are you willing to trade before you realize the deal was never fair to begin with, and that Democrats want to own your life so they can use it as leverage to get whatever the hell they want to get out of the other side? You tell me what you think in the comments down below. Hope you have a terrific day. Peace.